But in the meantime, while the United States is still technically at peace, we thought it'd be worth asking people who are calling for war if they have considered in detail what a war would mean for this country. Congresswoman Maria Salazar was gracious enough to accept our invitation to come on the show. We're grateful she did. She joins us tonight. Congresswoman, thanks so much for coming on.
Of course. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, yes. So since you have called for war with Russia, how do you think that war, once it begins, would play out?
I think that's a hypothetical question. I think that we should concentrate, Tucker, in what Zelensky asked Congress today, which is
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can't. No, and I'm in no way trying to cut you off. But I can't let you allot over that. You said we should shoot down Russian planes. That's of course war. Since you've called for that, and you are a member of Congress.
I think.
Well, you just said on the tape we played.
That was but that was taken out of context because I said, of course, that I know what that means. That interview was not very well conducted, and that's why I'm here, because I want to clarify my position. Okay. And my position is that we should not take the no-fly zone off the table. But before that, that's two. We need to do one. And one is to give Zelensky exactly what he's asking for. No troops on the ground. Let's give him the MiGs and the S-300s, what he needs to defend his own airspace. So he will create his own no-fly zone. And that's what I think we should have done months ago. It's embarrassing that this guy, this president, who is under the bullets, has come to Congress to beg for us to give him something that we should have done a long time ago.
Okay,
that's my position.
Let me be clear. When you say we should give President Zelensky what he's asking for, he demanded today, I think you were there, that the United States enforce the no-fly zone. So you are for denying him that.
Well, but he also said, and then we can give you alternatives. So since we know that that should not be taken off the table, and I repeat it, I do believe that we should go to plan A, which is to give them all the military weapons that he is asking for.
Okay.
Because
I think a lot of people sympathize with that. Let me just say, I think a lot of people who saw President Zelensky's speech today and who've seen the atrocities in Ukraine feel deep sympathy for the Ukrainian people and want this to end. I'm certainly among them. But I'm wondering about the implications.
So then I'm asking you, what should we do? Okay, all right, so what should we do then?
Always and everywhere, especially for the U.S. government or one of its elected representatives, act on behalf of the core interests of the United States government. It's really super simple. So if the United States is providing weapons...
Let me just tell you now that you said that.
Hold on.
Okay.
If the United States is providing weapons to one side in a war, how is that not participating in the war?
Listen, now let me just backtrack and say that you say that we're supposed to be representing the American people. I represent District Number 27, where you have millions of Cuban Americans, and I'm representing what we think. We know that we acquired peace through strength. Look at what happened in 1960. Fidel Castro and JFK.
Stop. I'm sorry. I'm not going to take the anti-communist lecture from anybody because, of course, I agree with you.
No.
And by the way, I hope that
you're
not speaking for, quote, Cuban Americans, but for all Americans, because it's not a racial question. It's a question of
I'm talking about
national interest.
I'm representing District Number 27.
I understand. But I'm just saying, I got it. And
so?
I'm as against communism, I think, as anybody. But my question is, if we are providing weapons to one side in a war, I think it's fair to ask, maybe the other side would say that's an act of war against us. And if that happens, then what next? And to not think about that seems negligent, but since you're on the Foreign Affairs Committee, I know that you have thought it through. So tell me your views on what would happen next.
Tucker, we have been providing javelins and stingers and ammunition, and we're providing a lot of military armament. So what is the difference between that and the MiGs and the S-300s? What's the difference? I mean, you have to understand that we are, unfortunately, the United States has fallen into the Vladimir Putin's trap. He is the one dictating what we're going to do, what we're not going to do. He said, we do not want, we are imposing a no-fly zone over Ukraine, and we are
so we're letting Putin
it.
control our behavior. Okay, so that seems like a loss right there. Right. Okay, but let me just ask you, because we believe we don't need more evidence that Putin has bad intent, that he's evil. A lot of people believe he's crazy, including some informed people, including many Russians. So we know he's volatile, and we know that he's heavily... How many nuclear weapons, by the way, does Russia have? Do you know?
Many.
Many.
Only
About
one
6,000
is enough.
the guess. One is enough, and that's a fair
One
answer.
is enough.
So are we concerned at all that he might use a nuclear weapon against the United States? Is that a concern? Is that something that you consider as you recommend these policies?
Of course that we're very concerned, and we're also concerned that he may be throwing a biological weapon against the Ukrainians within the next few hours because he cannot take Kiev as he thought he was going to. So of course that we are in confronting a dictator. But I think that we should put this into context, and I thank you very much that you're giving me the opportunity.
Of course.
If we believe in the free world, that this is just going to be the first or the last confrontation with a bad actor, we're in for a very big surprise. Because if we do not confront bad actors with strength, then we're going to have China and Russia and Iran and Fidel and Venezuela and Nicaragua. They're watching what we're doing.
But if, and needless to say, I've made that argument, for 30 years on television. The question is, are we doing it with all available risks known to the population in whose name we're doing it? So I'm asking you, what do you think the chances are, and I'm sure you've gamed this out as a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, that Putin uses a nuclear weapon against the United States in response to this? What would you calculate the chances as?
Sure that we are taking that into consideration. And
but what do you think the likelihood? I mean,
obvious.
our viewers are, I'm sure, supporting you. I think most conservatives are on your side. But I just think they should know what the informed view of the likelihood of a retaliatory nuclear strike from Vladimir Putin is. What would you assess it as being?
And I repeat, that's a hypothetical question, and I believe
hardly a hypothetical.
That he will not take that step if, starting today, the Biden administration will send the message that we are in charge, that NATO is ready to confront him, and so are we. And that is the problem that I believe, I'm not sure if you share in my view, that you obtain peace, you obtain, they take all the power away from Putin if you show strength. To put it in
so
more
do you believe that?
terms.
Do you believe that's true? So President Zelensky said yesterday that he is considering declaring that Ukraine would not join NATO in exchange for having Russian troops withdraw from his country. Would you describe, this is President Zelensky speaking, would you describe that
Zelensky can, who am I to say what's correct and what's incorrect?
Would you accept, well,
Zelensky?
I don't know, okay. Wait a minute, hold on, please don't dodge the question. Would that be an answer you'd be satisfied with? If Zelensky made good on what he just suggested, that we'll agree to neutrality, we'll relinquish claims to Crimea, and the Russians leave, would that be okay with you? Would you consider that an honorable exit, or would you consider it a display of weakness?
If Zelensky comes to the United States Congress and he says that this is the best path forward, we are no one to say something to the contrary. But I don't think he's going to say that. So we're creating scenarios here that are hypothetical.
No, we're not. He himself, you may not be following this closely, but he has said that multiple times. So, of course, that outcome would spare the deaths
of him.
Okay, but that would spare the deaths, and since I know you have great concern for the civilian population of Ukraine, that would spare the deaths of untold thousands and preserve the capital city from being destroyed. So would that be better than increasing the level of armed conflict in Ukraine? Which would be a better outcome?
That's for the Ukrainians.
What do you mean? You're an American policymaker who's imposing your views on Ukraine, and I'm asking you simply, would that be a better?
Why not
push? Well, of course you are. You're saying we need to send materiel, billions of dollars, arm the military, and I'm not criticizing your position. I'm just asking you, has it occurred that many lives might be saved if we were to encourage the peaceful solution that's already on the table? Are you doing anything in that direction?
If the Ukrainians want to go that route, they have the right to, and we are no one to say anything about it because they are the ones dying on the streets, and they're the ones under
and they certainly are. They certainly are dying. That's right. I don't notice any members of Congress or David Frum laying down their lives. It's the Ukrainians. But have you suggested that?
Tucker, I think that we have talked about this point enough. I also wanted you to give me the opportunity to explain to you